Hey, this is Grant Butler. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make homemade croutons, but croutons with a twist because it's made with a tube of store-bought pre-made polenta. It's an idea that comes from this terrific new cookbook, Plant-Powered Families, by Drina Burton, which is a collection of 100 recipes that are designed for the whole family. What I like about this recipe is that it uses this pre-made polenta, which is gluten-free and fat-free, and the store comes in a variety of flavors. But today we're just using basic traditional polenta. Now you just get started, you cut off the ends, and get rid of this packaging. And this kind of polenta is not the polenta that I would use if I was making polenta for dinner. I'd want to do that from scratch using regular cornmeal. But this kind of polenta, because it's in a solid form, can be cut up and you can use it to make canapes for a cocktail party. You can bake it up. And in this case, we're just going to cut it into half-inch pieces and then cut it into crouton-sized cubes and use that as the basis for our croutons. Once you've got the croutons cut into individual discs, you want to cut them into half-inch sized cubes. Each one will make maybe 9 croutons total. Once the polenta has been cut into individual croutons, you want to transfer them to a baking sheet. Here's one that's lined with a Silpat, and that will keep the polenta from sticking and also will help it crisp up while it's in the oven. As you're transferring these polenta croutons to the baking sheet, try to space them out evenly so that air circulates around them, which will allow them to bake more evenly and brown better. Okay, all transferred. Now comes the fun part, seasoning. To season these croutons, you want nutritional yeast, a tablespoon of that. Sprinkle it evenly over the croutons. Let's move this over. And this will give the croutons a nice little bit of cheesy flavor. Nutritional yeast is such a wonderful ingredient because it brings this cheesiness to things without actual cheese. Next, we get to use one of our favorite ingredients, which is 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. And smoked paprika has this really rich, warming flavor to it, and it reminds a lot of people of bacon, which, let's face it, the thing that people like about bacon is the smoked flavor, and smoked paprika brings that. Again, sprinkle it as evenly as you can. Next, we're going to use some sea salt, and we're using Jacobsen sea salt, which is made right here in Oregon. And we're going to use 1/4 cup of that. And because it comes in large flakes, I like to kind of sprinkle the sea salt using my fingers, which helps break up the granules. And then finally, a little unusual ingredient. We're using lemon pepper, which is a blend of citrus, but also pepper and a little bit of salt. And we use 1/4 teaspoon of that. Maybe a little bit less. Once you've got the croutons seasoned, you want to spread them around a little bit to help get some of those flavors distributed evenly on the croutons. But try to be careful not to break up the polenta. It's a little bit fragile, so if you jostle them up too much, you'll break up your nice little cubes and your salad won't look as pretty. Once you've got your polenta croutons all seasoned, you pop them into a 450-degree oven where they'll bake for 30 to 35 minutes. And you'll want to turn them at some point during maybe halfway through the process so that they bake evenly and brown evenly. Okay, it's been about a half hour. Let's see how they turned out. Out of the hot oven. They've browned a little bit. They've gotten a little bit of color from the oven. They have a crunchy exterior on them. We're going to let them cool a little bit and then we'll try them out. Okay, let's give these polenta croutons a try. They're crunchy on the outside, yet they still are creamy on the inside, which is a nice contrast of textures. And the flavor of the nutritional yeast and the smoked paprika have combined nicely to give them a lot of nuance. You could enjoy these croutons on top of salad or a soup, or you could just inhale them the way I am, eating them like they're popcorn. For the Oregonian, this is Grant Butler. Really good.